Obviously, this is a last chance coming up this weekend. So who's on tap?
Well, yeah, first of all, no, I'm not as good a bowler as Jerome Bettis, even though I have a friend who was in a bowling league sponsored by Jerome Bettis, but that's a story for another time. This week's visits, getting back to a little bit of business here, is the next to last time that teams are hosting players. So January 20th weekend, there's a visit weekend, and then next weekend, January 27th weekend, also there will be an official visit weekend. So there's things going on there. For Miami this week, again, we have a nice-sized group of visitors. Last week we had 6. This week we have 7. Of that 7, we have 2 committed players, excuse me. One is DeAndre Wilder from Carroll City High School, 6'2", about 190 pounds, outside backer, DN, kind of edge rusher guy, explosive athlete. So, he could come in and have a role getting up the field in the backfield of the opposing offenses. I do have to note that DeAndre Wilder is now 20 years old, or about to turn 20, the week of signing day, I want to say. He aged out of eligibility at the end of Carroll City's regular season, and then committed to Miami after his final game, and then was ineligible due to age restrictions to play in the playoffs as Carroll City went and won their state championship this year. But either way, whether he's 19 or 20 or 21, Wilder can definitely play. He has just gotten an offer from Oregon, like a lot of players have down here in South Florida, the Miami area, with Willie Taggart, who's basically just going and saying, okay, these are all the guys from South Florida, from the Miami area, basically, that I would like to have play on my team that I could not be connected to with South Florida because they didn't have enough of a name brand cachet to really offer those guys and be a realistic, competitor for their services. Now that he's at Oregon, still with these connections, he's throwing out a lot of offers to guys down here. Like formerly committed safety Billy Gibson is probably going to go to Oregon sight unseen, for that same reason. So Wilder does have that offer on deck, but if a strong visit happens this weekend, he'll get locked in probably. Excuse me. Corey Gaynor from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas up in Parkland, Florida. He's a committed player. He plays offensive line. He's probably going to be your center of the future. He's a 3-star player, as is DeAndre Wilder. Not super highly rated, but interior linemen usually are not super high-level recruits because you're going to put your higher-level recruits at either, a front-side guard, like a left guard, or one of the tackle spots. But Gaynor's mean. He plays with a mean streak. He was first-team All-County from the South Florida Sun Sentinel down here in Broward, playing 8A football at the largest classification in Florida. And if you watch his highlight tapes, he's just mean. He's a mean guy, and he does mean things. So, he's 6'4", 285 pounds, with some room to grow also. So Gaynor is was committed to Minnesota, got his offer from Miami, and then flipped pretty much immediately. And he's been vocal saying that this weekend during these visits, his job is to recruit the other 5 guys. Not Wilder, but the uncommitted guys or elsewhere committed guys who are going to be visiting. So looking forward to see what happens with that. From the group of 5 other visitors, so the ones who are not committed to Miami, we're going to start with Jeff Thomas from East St. Louis, Illinois. If that name sounds familiar, he was the Under Armour All-American Game MVP, had 3 catches for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 45-yard kickoff return during the Under Armour All-American Game. The receiving yardage and touchdowns were both records for that game. An electric slot receiver. He and Mike Harley are very similar in that they're both, 5'10", 170-ish pounds. Thomas is 170. Harley's probably 155, 160. But he's electric. And he impacts the game as punt returner, kick returner. He can be in the slot. He can run reverses. He can play outside just because he has that kind of speed. And if you go back and watch those highlights from the Under Armour All-American Game, he made really, really good defenders look really, really stupid. Just a head fake, stick a shoulder in the ground and shake him. And you see a guy, he's reaching out like that and grabbing air because Jeff Thomas is that good. His recruitment has kind of been behind the radar for a while because he had some academic issues as a junior, I want to say. He was kicked off his high school team. He was removed from the Under Armour All-American Game for academic and personal issues at the time. Really focused himself, rededicated himself to the process of greatness, got back on his high school team, obviously got back in the Under Armour All-American Game, and is trending towards being able to qualify. That is a big part of his story. Some people think he will not be able to qualify at top tier college for college football. So some teams have not offered him, but Miami has reportedly been connected with him behind the scenes for a while, talking to the administration over there at East St. Louis Senior High School and all those kind of things, and feels good about being able to get him into school. And he's an elite level player. He's a top 100, top 50 player in this class, Thomas is. So, they're doing everything they can to get him on campus. A lot of, again, crystal ball predictions have him coming to Miami now. He was supposed to take a visit last week. A lot of people said it was supposed to be to Illinois. Apparently, his coach said it was supposed to be – his coach said it was supposed to be to Illinois last week. A lot of people said it was supposed to be to Louisville last week. Either way, there was the ice storm in the Midwest, so Thomas did not make that visit no matter where he was supposed to go, which apparently bodes well for Miami this week. So he's at the top of the list. And, again, we need wide receivers, and he's electric. And I know people are going to think, before I go on, Thomas might not make it in. If you look back, Robert Knowles, not a good academic spot coming out of high school, and he made it in at Miami. If you have Deontay Mullins, who didn't even play his senior year because he was academically ineligible, he got into Miami. Treon Gray a few years ago, same kind of a thing. So there's like one a year that is a borderline academic case who Miami is able to work with, put a plan forward to, and then get them to qualify into school. So it is potentially possible that Thomas is that guy this year who has, maybe not the most sterling academic record, but still finds a way into school. So just going to put that out there. Not saying he's 100% in the clear, but there's been one player in each of the last 4 or 5 classes in a similar academic situation that Miami has found a way to get in, and maybe that can be Jeff Thomas if he commits. Kai Leon Herbert from American Heritage is another 4-star recruit who is visiting this week. He is committed to the University of Michigan. Hey, go blue. But he committed there a while ago and is probably not going to go there. Most people think that Florida is the team to beat in his recruitment, where he'll visit next week, I think, or maybe one last week. But either way, Florida's kind of at the front, but Miami's still pushing for him. He plays offensive tackle, 6'4", 280-ish pounds, very good talent, definitely could come in and step in and compete for a starting job from day one. Mike Rumpf, our cornerback coach, was his high school coach for a couple of years, but there's been a disconnect with American Heritage kids over the past few seasons. So I don't know if that's going to change right here with Herbert, but getting him on campus and getting him on an official visit is definitely something that, look, shoot your shot. Sometimes, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What's up, Michael Jordan? So get him on campus, shoot that shot, try to get him to flip, show him, what staying home can be. Great academic school coming from a private school like American Heritage, which has a sterling academic record, similar to Miami. Things like that, just make every pitch that you can and see what happens. So he'll be on campus as well. And that's a player that I know Corey Gaynor, the committed guy on the offensive line this week, said that he's going to work on really hard. The other committed player who's visiting this week is a brand new but a brand new player on the radar for Miami. His name is Tyreek Carpenter from Lincolnton, Georgia. He's committed to UCF as a safety, but after Billy Gibson was flirting with Oregon and he decommitted or was dropped or whatever, he's no longer in this class for Miami. Miami's looking for other safeties or somebody else to take that spot, and it could end up being Carpenter. 6'2", 180 pounds, good length, good burst from the safety position. And, he's another mean dude who you can see over the middle making some very, very hard hits. Really, if you watch his film, he's a late riser. He's a low 3-star kid, but you watch his senior film and he really progressed this year. So Miami has not offered him yet, but if everything goes well this week on a visit, I think that offer could be forthcoming, and then maybe a flip to Miami also. So, got a couple guys we're working on in that way this week. Another visitor this week is 3-star cornerback Brian Edwards from Miramar High School down here in sunny South Florida. He's a player who has kind of been all over the place. He was committed to Louisville at the end of his sophomore rising junior year, and then he flipped to Miami at the end of his rising junior into senior year. Then he decommitted, saying he kind of wanted to enjoy the process and get the love from other teams because, as a 3-star guy, if you're committed to a team, schools might check on you a little bit, but they're not going to pursue you really hard, depending on who you are. And he was kind of feeling that. So Edwards is taking visits all over the place. He went to Louisville last week, and they've kind of vaulted to the front of his recruitment. He's coming to Miami this week. where Miami's going to try to state their case to get him back in this class. And then he goes to Florida next week, who's probably going to, try to get him in their class as well. But from the Miami side, yeah, definitely going to pull out all the stops this week. 6'3", with, a huge, I think it's 6'8", 6'9", maybe even longer wingspan. His arms are just, from here to forever. He could play cornerback. He could play free safety, center field coming off the hash. He could do a lot of different things because he has that versatility. And usually when you get guys who are as tall as Edwards, 6'3", almost 6'4", they're kind of stiff in the hips and they don't move really well. He moves like a guy who's 5'10" or 11. His fluid hips, good feet, great pattern recognition, all these kind of things that you look for. He's a little thin. It's, only 170 pounds, 175 pounds. So you can put a little size on him, but definitely has a skill set to play here in Miami. And again, just like I was talking about with Javonte Dean previously, he's a cornerback and could play some corner in addition to, playing some safety and some sets. So there's playing time to be had for Brian Edwards. So Miami's going to pitch that pretty hard this weekend. So that is 6 of our visitors. Gaynor and Wilder are committed. Herbert committed to Michigan, but probably looking like Florida right now, but Miami's going to shoot their shot. Tyree Carpenter doesn't have an offer, the UCF commit yet. 3-star, but he could get one this week. Edwards, I just spoke about. Thomas is the #1 guy who's visiting this weekend. He's at the top of the list. He's a top 50 player in this class. Really looking to lock him down. And then last is 2-star wide receiver Marshall Few from Ponte Vedra Beach up in the Jacksonville area, I want to say. He's 5'11", 180 pounds, a wide receiver, fairly productive in high school, but doesn't have explosive measurables. Miami has offered him a preferred walk-on spot, which is, you're going to be a normal student. You're going to apply to the University of Miami. You're going to get into the University of Miami. You're going to pay your way to the University of Miami, which matters because the University of Miami is a private school. So paying your own way is not cheap. And you see that with baseball teams and things, other preferred walk-ons, Vincent Testaverde, for example, it's kind of money's no option because his father's Vinny Testaverde. So, he'll stroke a $80,000 check for everything all inclusive, in a year. But other guys like a Marshall Few maybe look other ways or other places because, it can be financially prohibitive to be a preferred walk-on because you're footing the bill for you to come to the University of Miami. So he could end up here. Or not, but he is coming in, again, a preferred walk-on candidate, not a full scholarship candidate, but he'll be on with that group for their official visits this week. For me, it's really Jeff Thomas and the Pips this week from the standpoint of what's going on with visits because, again, I've talked so much about Jeff Thomas. You're like, Cam, he can't really be that good. Jeff Thomas from East St. Louis, Illinois. Go look up the highlights. He's that good, and some people were making the comparison between him and Devin Hester because of the way that he moves on film, especially in space and on punt returns. And I'm not somebody who throws out a comparison to a Miami great lightly, but it's not very different than when Devin Hester was returning punts, man. I mean, this kid is good. This kid is good. This kid is really, really good. He comes here and he plays from day one, and there's not a question in my mind. So, I got 7 guys in, could get Carpenter to flip, maybe could get Edwards back, and see what happens with a couple other guys. But yeah, for me this week, it's Jeff Thomas and the Pips, and we'll see what kind of music we can make.